a bit too sunny. Let me go stand over here. That'll work. Lens is grubby. It's time for me to work on my car again. Let's see if we can get that sill done. Enjoy the video. That's one sill welded together, inner and outer sill sections welded, which I'm quite pleased with. So plug welded along the bottom edge, and well, very aggressive tag weld along the top edge, and then ground all of the excess back, filled in the unnecessary holes, because these sills come for a wide range of Range Rovers, and those include the ones with the bolt-in seat boxes, which of course my car doesn't have. Now, these sills just come in two parts, which is really quite useful. You get the outer sill section, and you get the inner sill section. And all you really need to do is weld those two puppies together, which is more or less what I'm doing. So all I do here is I align using the helpful bolt holes, clamp it all together, loosely bolt it to start off with, so I'll plug weld the top here, and then when I plug welded the top, then I can weld in the bottom section. Now the only real telltales, as I say, when you're putting these things together, I say, is the bolt holes. Make sure that this edge lines up, so you can butt weld that, as I have done here. Okay, and then that needs to line up there. And if you can get that in, that's more or less where the sill goes, inner and outer sections. So what I'll do next, I'm going to weld the other one up. You don't need to watch me welding. Weld the other one up, and all I really do, as I say, is a whole load of holes along here, enlarge them out to 8mm, clamp it together, plug weld all the way along that edge. And that then is going to allow any moisture that gets in there to escape out either through the drain holes or through that joint there, which is actually pretty, it's a lot tighter than it looks. And I'll fill these up with wax once they're on the car. And then I'm going to seam seal along this edge here, because that really doesn't need to be anything other than a seam sealed edge. Seam seal along this edge here. Again, we've got lots of holes on here, which really are for the bolt-in floor pans and so forth. I'm not going to need those holes, but which way round does the floor go? Here's a good question for you. Does the floor go over the gearbox? Yes, the gearbox goes over the top of it. So they're just going to be under the car and sitting there doing fuck all. And then I'll weld the gearbox cover along the top edge here. But before that happens, there's a couple of other things I want to do with this particular sill. Somewhat disappointingly, the section that the rubber seal goes onto has been welded, spot welded on wonky. So you can see here, looking at the two square holes. Yeah, cheers for that, pal. I don't need both of the square holes. I only need the inner ones. These ones here, and they're for the square plugs that the screws go into. So I'm going to drill all these spot welds along here, probably up to about that one, so I can pivot this around and align that edge with this edge. Otherwise, it's just going to look stupid. This one's fine. This one doesn't have that issue. You see down the edge there that the rubber seal angled section lines up beautifully. Well, that's a bit irritating, isn't it? But never mind, shit happens. Well, that's the sill, that's the driver's side sill, and that's the passenger side sill, more or less ready now for me to chop off the base of the A post and B post and slot it in, get the damn thing done. The weather is cooler, let's say. Cooler. And lots of grinding sparks on the floor to collect up. Lots of them. Well, that needs to come out anyway. I can tidy that up and that will go back in. It was in completely the wrong place, as you know. And the reason it was in completely the wrong place is because the tail end of the sill was not attached to the chassis in any way whatsoever. So all I've done here is chop through here, and as you can see, it fell off. So I think that then led to the body being too low at the back end. I need to remedy that. So I need a baseline to start from. Hello. And my baseline to start from is a brand spanking new sill with the mounts in the correct location. So if I get this on and then tack that to the existing floor, then I can start looking at things like the closing panel, which goes in here, just sitting over there at the moment, closing panel, and so forth, and just get the car realigned again. Now, I'm probably not going to do this today because time is pushing on, and it's a Sunday, and it's a bank holiday weekend. It's August bank holiday weekend, in fact. And then I kind of took all the carpet and the loom out of this side, and I got my fucking nightmares back. Shit, the bed. That's kind of, you can see there where the knife slipped. I've got to get that out because every time I look at it, it just gives me the shivers. But I'm going to get it out with my hands behind my back, I'll be honest. And then realistically, I need to get to the point where I'm more or less ready to take the old sill out. So I've got a few more spot welds around here to drill through. This is literally loose and held in. There's a few spot welds along here. They all need to come out, and that's going to be my job for the rest of the day, really. Drilling spot welds. So at the moment, the A post and B post are aligned because the sill in between them is holding them in such a position. Before I was to cut the sill off, I'm actually inclined to tack a bar from here across to here to maintain this gap. Not so bothered about that gap because I know that gap's already a mile out anyway. I mean, yeah, I could get, I reckon, 6 rashers of bacon in there. And you can see here that this is too far out, and that's about the right distance. So if I was to pull the back end of the car forwards, that would actually close that gap up. Now, as far as the rear wing's concerned, that is actually roughly where it needs to be. So what's moved here is this. And my only concern is that when I welded up the goalpost at the back, not being aware of that level of collapse, it's gone in back in very, very, very slightly the wrong place. But we'll get that sorted out. On the other side, I really don't have this problem. Try and stack fuel tanks out there. Long story. Long story. It'll be a beer and bollocks story, I'm sure. So on this side, we've got reasonable gaps. And this is all welded up. Okay, we need to dress some of the welds back. But that's kind of more or less where I want it to be, as far as the gaps are concerned. All of the gaps are consistent and square as well to the side of the car. Now, interestingly, this also widens up as it goes down towards the bottom. For now. This sill is also compromised, heavily compromised in the mounting point onto the chassis. In fact, you can see there's nothing really there. It's entirely possible that I've got into a bit of a mess with this, but nothing that I can't fix. Oh, no, 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 no. Absolutely not. Don't worry too much about this gap here. That wing's loosely fitted, and that gap there is actually quite big, but that gap's about right. I've not done anything with the door, the driver's door, other than just lift it off its hinges. So at the moment the stay is just there. Zip tie around it stops it disappearing inside the door, so I can't retrieve it. And then I can effectively lift this door straight off the pins. Right. I need to get that piece of fucking sound deadening out because it's giving me the shivers. Right, that's done that. Next thing I need to do is this needs to come out. Now, at the moment, I've got the telltale on the inside edge. What I really need to do is to measure from the centre of the hole to the centre of the hole, and it is, so from the rearmost hole to the front hole, 31 centimetres. I could measure from the stop until the stop, and that's 21.5 centimetres, actually 8.5 inches. So that I can get this front piece out, because it needs to be out, it's in the way. And then really just go along, let's just get the spot welds out, let's get this done. And there we go, all the spot welds drilled all the way around the rear seat pillar, along the floor. They go up as far as about here, and then that's a factory tack of weld there. That's my kind of repair when I did the floor pan last time. That's all going to come out anyway. And you can see here the bottom of the A pillar is compromised, so I'm just going to chop it off and replace it complete. Bottom of the B pillar does look better, but I'm still just going to chop it off. Even if I salvage it from the sill once it comes off the car, it's going to get chopped off. We're more or less free now, but I'm out of time for the day. I've done sills before. I did them. It's very similar to doing the sill on the Discovery, except I've got less rust along the inside edge over here. This is in far better shape, although I have noticed there's rot through just about there. There's a hole through. So I think when the footwell comes out, I'm going to have to see what I need to do with that. But I probably, by that point, I'm probably going to be cutting off the inner wing at the front end to give me some decent access. This is going to get replaced anyway, this inner wing. It's shot. Yeah, we can do better than that. Grubby car, poor old thing. It just amuses me that it's so keen to start. Mechanically, really absolutely bob on. Structurally, it's only going in one direction here, isn't it? Oh yes. Right, okay, that needs to go in the car really. I don't want that rotting away. I'm going to have to tidy all these edges up. Flap disc should do that away from the car, and then I can salvage the replacement arch, and when it goes back on again, it can go back on in the right place. How about that? It's a novelty really, isn't it? Putting things in the right place. Well, here we are, the last day in August. Tomorrow is September, and I'm getting on with this. So I'm going to do the sill today. As you can see, the rear door is severely compromised. I've got a replacement for that. Front door's going to stay on, purely because I can then use it for alignment of the B post, the BC post. I've also got this chappy here, which I'm just going to tack across. Just a little tack at each end, nothing serious. And actually, is that going to stop me from closing the bloody door? It might stop me from closing the door, so I might not do that. I'll measure anyway. These things, they really don't move that much. There is kind of a weakness right at the top of this pillar. You can see my hinge had gone at some point. Not anymore, because I fixed the hinge, but that's a bit disgraceful, Richard. Mind you, that's not really the worst bit on the car, is it? Let's be honest. Right, okay, so I'm going to measure this rather than tack a piece in there. The reason being is, when I close the door, it goes pretty much where I want to tack that panel to, unless I take the door card off. Well, we might want to take the door card off anyway, purely to protect it from welding splatter and so forth. Let's take the door card off. Right, this bar welded across. Does door close. Oops. Does door close. Door closes. Oh yeah. Right, okay, that'll do that, because it's going to hold the B post into place. Right, I'm going to busy now cutting this sill off. So I'm going to chop front end up here because I can't get the bolt undone on the mounting at the front. The back ends all come apart. We knew it was compromised, but that's a little bit more compromised than I was anticipating. Yeah, even they're fucked. That one more so. The replacements of these I'm really struggling with, so I don't chuck them away unless I absolutely have to. And then I've cleaned up round the end of the chassis rail here. The whole chassis is going to need to be treated end to end. So what I'm probably going to end up doing here is get the body strong again, and then once I've done that, lift the body off and do the chassis, do the rolling chassis. Yeah, I think. Well, that escalated. Oh yeah. Right, it's all out now. So I've cut all of the remains of the inner sill out. It was made somewhat more difficult by my kind of patching that I did a few years ago, and it looked better than that when I first did it, but I put a new mount on this front end here, and you can see where that welded on, upside down in my dad's barn, probably about 10 years ago. So yeah, it's all off. Now I chopped the bottom of the B post as well as the bottom of the A post off because it's far easier to slide the new sill in, get everything lined up onto it, and then make up a new A post. That really is not good for an awful lot. So I can make up a new A post, lower section, and the B post similarly, not difficult. Kept these profiles on here and here purely because they can then be my reference point for the lip. And that's the edge of the lip there, you see. That I just need to take that off with a belt sander. I want to keep that bit, take that bit off. And then I can slip the new sill in. And again, cleaned up all of the crap off the chassis. The body is going to come off the chassis and the whole thing will then be probably grip blasted, I would have thought. But I just wanted to get the worst of it off. Yeah, and then we could deal with all this shit another day, and all this shit because we're going to put new inner wings on this thing. I've got bulkhead side repair panels. In fact, I'll show you those because they're rather nice. Well, I say rather nice. You can get them now with the blister in as well, but I bought these a long time ago. The idea is you cut what you need off that and weld it around the blister. So for instance, I really don't want to be cutting into the A post up here or along the top edge. When the front inner wing comes off, that's the point where I'll be doing the bulkhead side pieces. But first and foremost, we've got sill. What I might do is just line the sill up. I'm going to have a cup of coffee, I think. And there you go. And there is a degree of movement on this, but having welded that bar in place, I'm confident that my alignment's going to be good. I just don't want to try and manipulate it too much because there's only a couple of slugs up here ready to support that panel into the roof rail. I imagine that'll be quite easy to move. So once the sill's in, I can tack the B post onto the top of the sill. I can get the mounts onto the chassis. I can weld along the floor, and I can tack a piece onto the inside of the A post. Although the A post is really not going to move because of all of the bulkhead side piece structure. And then the doors can go back on. And then I can start messing around with trying to get the alignment of the back end of the car to the back of the C-pillar correct. And all of this is just going to get chopped out. That's all going. The whole flipping lot of it. All coming out. Yeah, I think. There's the sill. Very roughly in place, sitting over the top of the mounts. I haven't got the rubbers in yet. I'm going to do that in a second. They're a bit of a bugger to get in, but that'll need to happen before any welding takes place. And you can see everything is kind of lining up. Now I've dropped the door back on again, and I've dropped the wing back on again just to double check on gaps. Nothing has shifted, so we're looking good. And the reason I've kind of packed up, it's not because I've finished for the day, it's just that the weather forecast is telling me 1 o'clock we are going to get a lot of rain. Not a little bit of rain, a lot of rain. And we're currently 10 to 1. So I'm going to take a break for some lunch. Just need to drop this back door back on its hinges again. There comes the rain, look. As if by magic. That's literally, I have just hung that passenger door on, and look. There we go. So I've got half an hour of this, and then we should dry up then, and I can get that sill welded on. 6 minutes to 1. We're early. And the mounts are in. So I put the bolt upside down on the rear mount, because it means then I can get the damn thing out. And the right way up on the front mount. When these things went in originally with the factory, they kind of fed the bolt in, so the head was at the top edge here, and that ultimately means you can't get the mount apart again. So I turned them the other way up, which upset the purists, but tough. Now, interestingly, the front mount went in okay, no problems at all, and everything sort of lined up okay. There's some warpage on the floor, but everything kind of lines up exactly where I want it to go. The back one, I had to put quite a bit of effort jacking the back end of the body up and into place. And of course the sill wanted to come this way, so I got the main part of the mount in there, dropped the bolt through it, didn't tighten it up but just located it, and then jacked it up, and then managed to bang the lower washer in. So that's now gone in, and now I've let it down. Well, it's already looking better actually. Right, so I think the bulk of the original issue was because I did the back end work before I addressed the collapsed mount on the back end of the sill. Silly arse. Every day's a school day, etc, etc, etc. Now, what I'm going to do next, as I mentioned a little while ago, is to weld the BC pillar to the top of the sill, and I'll put in a couple of tacks at the front hinge here, although I'm not particularly bothered about the A post, because that's all going to come apart anyway, but that sort of closes up quite nicely and opens quite nicely too. The stand is just here to hold the door open. Right, so let's get on with some welding and see if we can't hold it into place. Oh, by the way, the lip on the top here that holds the seal fell off when I kicked the sill to move it that way. Fucking thing just fell off. Bastard! Right, and I've painted the underside of the sill, so if we look at the other sill, once I've welded it and tied all the welds back, this is the passenger side sill, I've just painted a chassis paint on the underside. I was thinking about seam sealing all the gaps, but I'm actually more inclined just to use a wax rather than seam seal, purely because if moisture's going to get in there, I want it to be able to get back out again. And I think when I look at any of the drop points on these cars, more often than not, it started underneath where the seam seal is, because the moisture's got in. Invariably there was no paint underneath there, and then it's kind of stayed. Old sill underneath there, hiding. Right, let's get on with some welding. Right, I've had enough of welding for the day. Welded in along this edge here, so plug welded where I drilled the original spot welds, and then a few tag welds every other kind of inch as well, just to give it the strength it needs. Plug welded the seat base back on, and then at the back end here, spot welds were a lot closer, so I've plug welded all those together. As I said, plug welded the frame for the bottom of the B post. Check him out, Richard. Wait, don't move. So that's all that. Right, I'm going to take a break now, so I'm going to tidy some of these welds up. I just want to be stripped back really, so that I can put, in fact, do they need to stay on there, or are they're part of this, aren't they? So I've got that piece. Needs to go back. And I've got this piece. Needs to go back. And we've got some shite weather coming this week. So I might not be welding this up just yet, but I wanted to get it so I could put the doors back on again, and it's reasonably watertight. I mean, some water is going to get in there. I might even put the seal back on this side. Back seal I'm not worried about quite so much because there's a fucking great hole in the floor. Probably unnecessary swearing then, Richard. I don't know. Right, I've had to keep dodging the rain, but we are where we are. And then I think once I've got the sill, and I'm happy with the sill, I can line up that arch and see if that arch lines up any better, or whether I'm going to need to pull the back end of the car forwards. Before I did any of that, I need really to put the door back on again. That closed really nicely then, didn't it, considering how much surgery there is. I've not put the bottom on the B pillar yet, but they come in this kind of form. There we are, like that. And you've seen me put these on before, and I tend to slice them right down the middle from top to bottom, weld on the forward face, butt weld, and then butt weld the rear face, and try and get it as tight as I possibly can. And that range just started again. Right, let's get the welder back in. Right, so here's an interesting thing, and bearing in mind I have literally just tossed that back wing in place, mainly for the fuel filler, but that already lines up better. This piece down here that I did take out, you could see that it lines up along the floor edge here, and you can see where it originally lined up along this top edge here where I've cut through. I'm not going to bother grinding that, I'm going to weld that in. The bottom edge is completely bent and twisted, so it would kind of stand, I guess, that I put too much tension into that area. But already this back door is one shitload better. I'm actually really quite pleased. I know the hulking great gaps in there. It's a classic Range Rover. I mean, if you can get 4 rashers of bacon into the panel gap, you're doing well. 5 rashers, you might want to tighten it up a little bit. And I reckon that's a 4 rasher, and that's a 3 rasher. But I'm actually quite pleased with that. That's been an effective couple of hours work there, getting that all in. Right, let's have a tidy up. Get all my tools and things out of here. That wire brush down there. And that's wobbling around quite a lot because there's no outer arch on it. So I'm going to go and have a play with that now, but I wanted to have a clear up first and foremost. Oh, dear. Oh, yes. Right. Just before the end credits, give me a thumbs up if you liked that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Mind you, you've got all the way to the end of it, so you probably would have given me a thumbs down by now anyway. Comments down below. All of these things do help to promote the work that I do and promote to YouTube for your benefit. If you want to contact me, churchhouseclassics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling down here. Both my email and the PayPal me link are in the description below this video. And that's my car, still sitting here. I might have to change this feature once it gets back on the road. It'll embarrass me enough into getting this back on the road. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.